We all talk about integrity. It's the cornerstone of trust, the backbone of a career. It's always the first thing you see in a company's mission statement. But here's the real challenge, and it's a big one. If integrity is so important, why don't we measure it? Can we actually take this abstract concept and track it, manage it, and
Yeah.
actually strengthen it over time like a tangible asset? That's really the whole goal of this deep dive. We want to cut through the philosophical ideals and give you a shortcut to understanding the strategic, measurable value of organizational integrity. Basically, turning this elusive idea into a real practical advantage.
And we absolutely have to start by acknowledging the stakes here because they are incredibly high. Ignoring integrity isn't just about risk. It actively compromises performance, retention, and, long-term sustainability.
Right.
The sources we're digging into, they show that the fallout from an integrity failure is just. Whether it's a multi-billion-dollar corporate collapse or just that slow erosion of public trust, it represents a massive catastrophic operational loss.
That's the core of it, isn't it? We live in this world that's just dominated by ROI, by KPIs. If something has value, we demand metrics for it. And integrity has, for some reason, always been left out of that kind of rigor. We need a definition that goes beyond just, the absence of fraud.
We do. And our sources really anchor this discussion in a Hebrew concept, Tamim. That's Tamim. It means wholeness, completeness, or soundness. So true integrity isn't defined by what you didn't do wrong. It's defined by the presence of an uncompromising unity of character.
So the ideal person of Tamim is they're fully integrated. Their public proclamations actually match their private actions.
Precisely. And this is so helpful because it distinguishes it from, say, mere legalism. Legalism is just about external compliance, checking boxes.
Which should be easily gamed.
Easily. But Tamim demands that internal congruence between what you say you believe and what we can all see you do. To measure this wholeness, we can kind of view it across three critical dimensions. First, there's vertical integrity. That's Godward. It's about undivided loyalty to ultimate standards, and you see it in the courage to resist compromise. Then there's internal integrity, or self-word, the seamless unity of thought, word, and deed, no compartmentalization. And finally, and this is key for organizations, horizontal integrity. This is otherword. It's all about fairness, trustworthiness, honesty in your dealings with people.
Built on the golden rule.
Exactly. And that last dimension is the one we can most readily measure in a company because it directly builds or breaks public trust.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, you can't really audit someone's heart, but you can absolutely audit their interactions. So, okay, let's apply that spreadsheet imperative. What are the measurable costs when that horizontal integrity is low?
Well, the absence of integrity, it acts as a direct quantifiable tax on efficiency. It shows up on the balance sheet almost immediately. For instance, take increased transaction costs.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
When trust is low in an organization, you suddenly need longer contracts, you need multiple layers of legal oversight, endless sign-offs for routine decisions. All that friction is a massive financial drain that's imposed directly by that integrity deficit.
And I imagine low trust also crushes speed and innovation.
It absolutely suffocates it. In a fear-based culture, information gets hoarded. Honest dissent, suppressed, mistakes are hidden. The fear of being exposed completely trumps the drive to take calculated risks, and the whole organization just becomes brittle and slow.
And then people leave.
They do. You see a huge talent drain. High-integrity leaders attract and keep high-integrity people. So when staff see duplicity or unfairness, your best people, the ones with the most options, they're the first ones out the door. And the cost to recruit, train, and replace them is a direct, measurable loss you can tie right back to those poor integrity scores.
That economic case is just so compelling. Let's make it real. Our sources use a great case study to illustrate integrity as a measurable asset, the biblical figure Joseph. When he's in these impossible situations in Egypt, his only real transferable asset was his intrinsic tamim, his integrity.
It was his collateral. That's a great way to put it. He earns immediate, maximal trust from Potiphar, then the jailer, and eventually Pharaoh himself. The sources identify his integrity key performance indicator, his I-KPI, as delegation capacity.
Delegation capacity, I like that.
Because Joseph was trusted completely, the jailer and Potiphar needed almost no oversight over him. They outsourced the entire operation to him.
So Joseph's story gives us a real organizational KPI. You only get maximal delegation where minimal oversight is required.
Exactly right. And if trust is the ultimate non-physical asset, we have a duty to measure it based on observable outcomes, what the sources call the fruit test. not on subjective intentions. We have to translate these vague virtues into things we can actually see and measure.
And to do that, we can use the trust equation framework that the sources provide.
Yes, the equation is, it's pretty straightforward but powerful. Trustworthiness equals credibility plus reliability plus intimacy.
All on top.
All on top, all divided by self-interest.
Let's break that down. What's in the numerator?
Okay, so credibility is the perception that you know what you're talking about and you tell the truth. Our sources call this emet, factual truth. Reliability is the perception that you act consistently, you keep your promises. That's hest, loyal, consistent behavior. And intimacy is about creating safety for other people to be vulnerable with you.
But the real kicker, the thing that defines the culture, is that denominator, self-interest. Our sources show that a leader could score a 9 out of 10 on credibility and reliability. But if the team perceives that self-interest is also, say, an 8 out of 10, that acts as a huge divisor.
It's an immediate devaluation. The team just discounts the leader's performance because they believe the motivations are polluted. They might, tolerate a less competent but humble leader, but they will actively abandon a brilliant, self-serving one the moment things get tough.
Which means our I-KPIs, our metrics, have to be designed to detect and mitigate that perceived self-interest. So let's give everyone listening some concrete, actionable examples they could use right away.
Great. Let's start with metrics related to fiduciary honesty, or emet. Our sources really stress that you have to measure the small things. The logic is that consistency in minor areas reveals character in major ones.
So a practical example would be something like the expense report compliance rate, a perfect measure of how people follow policy in small transactions.
A perfect one. Another is the conflict of interest disclosure score, which measures how often and how thoroughly leadership discloses potential conflicts.
Okay, what about relational fairness, or HEST?
A great metric there is the Policy Application Uniformity Index. This basically measures the perceived fairness in how things like discipline, promotions, and rewards are handed out across different roles or demographics. If that index is low, it's a direct flag for favoritism, a measurable outcome of unchecked self-interest.
And for a really deep look at pure character, the sources recommend this observational audit that's focused on something called the Low Status Interaction Score, the LSIS.
The LSIS is a fantastic tool. It's a behavioral map that tracks how a leader treats people they think have no power over their career. The janitorial staff, interns, the service staff at a restaurant.
Why is that specific interaction so revealing?
Because character is only fully revealed when power is exercised with absolutely zero risk of retaliation. Kindness to a major client can just be performance, but consistent respect shown to the powerless. That's true character.
Wow. It's humbling to realize that the moment we think nobody is watching, that is precisely when our integrity is being measured most accurately by everyone around us.
And that reflection is vital, because the second we start trying to quantify character, we run right into what the sources call the Pharisee trap, the tyranny of the metric.
And this is where we have to bring up Goodhart's law. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. If leaders just focus on the score, they can get really good at obfuscation instead of genuine character development. Just like the Pharisees who focused on external tithing but completely neglected justice and mercy.
And what's more, a perfect score can actually signal danger, not health. The sources call this the safety zone delusion. If your ethical climate survey comes back with suspiciously high scores combined with almost no grievance reporting, you're in what's called the silent zone.
A perfect score just means people are too afraid to be honest. So a true integrity measurement system has to create a space where the painful truth can be safely told to leadership without fear.
And ultimately, you have to link these metrics to strategic ROI to justify the investment. You have to move beyond just anecdotal proof to empirical proof by tracking the correlations.
So, for example, you could track the Policy Application Uniformity Index, our fairness metric, and correlate it directly with the cost of employee replacement for your high performers.
Yes. High fairness, high consistency. That HEST, it dramatically reduces the financial drag of constantly recruiting and losing your best talent. By tracking this, you prove that improving your ethical metrics translates directly into relational stability and operational success.
This changes the entire conversation around integrity. It's not some fluffy virtue. It's a structural necessity. It's the ultimate hedge against organizational catastrophe.
It has to be managed, audited, and protected, just like any other strategic asset.
So as you think about this deep dive, ask yourself this. How could tracking the fruit of integrity through metrics like relational stability, reporting candor, or that low status interaction score, How could that inspire you to see those intangible qualities as equally critical assets as, say, revenue or market share? This shifts the focus from, compliance theater to proactive stewardship. You're not just avoiding disaster, you are actively building long-term structural value.
And that proactive, measurable stewardship is what cultivates true, lasting influence.
Think about which of these integrity KPIs you could put in place this week to tangibly strengthen trust in your sphere of influence. We really appreciate you diving in with us.